So we're here at Smith Falls State Park. I've been here since 2018 as the park superintendent. And this is a 250-acre park, small park, but very unique in the way that it is still privately owned. The Krasinowski family still owns the park, and they decided to lease it to the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission because they wanted the waterfall to be accessible to everyone. The Niobrara River cuts right through the middle of our park, and folks come here to enjoy floating the river, including tubing, kayaking, just spending time with each other and in nature. It was Frederick Krasinowski who established the campground because of the popularity of the waterfall in the 70s. It was really an area where people would canoe the river avidly. And then in the late 80s, early 90s, and up to today, tubing became a little bit more popular of a way to recreate on the river. The demand and the interest was there, and so they came into agreement with Game and Parks to make it accessible to everyone. The Verdigris Bridge is actually my hometown of Verdigris. I do remember it as a child. It spanned the Verdigris Creek, which looks similar to the Niobrara River in this area. It also matches a lot of the bridges that are along the Niobrara River, a lot of the historic bridges. It was built in 1910, and it was moved here in 1996 in order for folks to be able to cross the river. Prior to that, you could only access the falls by canoe or kayak or tube by wading across the river. There was a cable car in existence that was built in the 50s, and people used it throughout the 80s and early 90s up until then to get across the river. An old hand-cranked, hand-built cable car, which still is on the river there. It was just no longer in use. Personally, I feel like people come here to experience the peace of nature. This is nature being itself and all its glory and all its beauty. And people come here to relax, to enjoy it, to enjoy each other, to spend time in a place that is as it's always been. This area is known as the canoeing, floating area of the Niobrara. As you get further down the river, it starts to become more braided and shallow. Maybe not as enjoyable on a kayak, still beautiful. The other thing that's unique about this and the waterfalls is that it creates a microclimate. So there is a lot of rare species, including the hybrid aspen tree that exists really only on this area here, and a few groves here in the park, and it makes it really a unique spot. The waterfall itself is very cold. Folks that float the river, they stop here and refresh. They go underneath of it, they can play and splash around it, and it does really refresh you when you're on the journey on the river. There's over 76 miles of the National Scenic River. Most folks just float a few miles, maybe 10, 20 river miles. But in between that floating, it's nice to get off and get under a waterfall and splash and play around in the cool water on those hot days. It's really refreshing, really relaxing. The trail to Smith Falls begins at the Park Visitor Center, and it's about a mile round trip to hike there. It's a rock gravel path that turns into a boardwalk as you get closer. This year, in fact, they're going to redo the entire walkway, and it's going to be completely wheelchair accessible. So we're really excited about that. We want to make sure everybody can enjoy the beauty of the falls as it was intended to be. Smith Falls is known as Nebraska's tallest waterfall. It's about 63 feet tall. The source of the waterfall begins about a quarter mile up from the waterfall itself. The Ogallala Aquifer just builds steam and becomes a small creek that then just flies over that rock ledge. And we also work very closely with a lot of organizations, including the National Park Service, because this is the National Niobrara Scenic River. And we also work with the Nature Conservancy, which borders our land here, and they assist us in a lot of different ways. We've also partnered with different groups, volunteers of people, the Minnesota and Iowa Conservation Corps, to help us manage this land, this forest. It's a lot of work, and we definitely rely on partnerships to help us out. We just recently did a prescribed burn on the forest side. That took a lot of effort, a lot of people involved, but it is, our main focus is to try to protect those aspen trees from encroaching invasive eastern red cedars, and also just to kind of make sure our forest stays healthy is one of our top priorities. My favorite thing is to go kayaking. Canoeing, if I've got more than one dog, I've got a canoe, but I do enjoy spending time with my family and friends, especially on the river. It's a lot of fun because they will pick up on sounds, sights, and smells, and things that I'm not privy to because I'm human, and it'll be a lot more fun too just to have someone with when you're going down the river.